You ever get that feeling that building real wealth, the kind that really gives you peace of mind, is just a game for other people? Kind of like an exclusive club with a velvet rope, and you're definitely not on the guest list. Yeah, it's a super frustrating feeling, right? It can feel like the whole financial system is set up to keep people like us stuck on a treadmill, just earning and spending, never really getting ahead. But then I stumbled onto this really simple principle, one that some of the wealthiest people on the planet use, and I realized, wait a minute, this isn't about having millions of dollars. So I decided to run a little experiment on myself. I took their exact strategy, but I only used $100. All right, let's dive into how it went. So when you hear the phrase billionaire strategy, your mind probably jumps to something super complex, right? Complicated trades, insider knowledge. But the truth, the real foundation of how they build their wealth is, well, it's shockingly simple. It really just boils down to one single core idea. That's it. That is the fundamental secret right there. See, the whole wealth building game, it's not about what they sell. It's about what they own. They look at cash completely differently. It's not just for spending. To them, it's the raw material they use to buy assets, things that will generate more money down the road. So the really crucial thing here is to get the difference between these two things. An asset, that's anything that puts money into your pocket. Think of a stock that grows or a business that pays you. And a liability, well, that takes money out of your pocket. The wealthy, they focus all their energy on one thing, turning their cash into a growing pile of assets. And this is the big one. This is the core lesson, the total mindset shift. It's about changing how you see yourself in the economy. You stop thinking like someone who just buys stuff, and you start thinking like someone who owns a piece of the companies that make all that stuff. Okay, so let's get down to the first practical step. We've got to get that first $100. But here's the thing. How you get this money is almost as important as what you do with it. This is where that whole mindset shift really kicks into gear. The key here is to consciously generate this money, not just use whatever's left over at the end of the month. For my experiment, I sold some old electronics I had lying around. For you, it could be picking up one extra shift, doing a small freelance gig, or even just cutting one subscription for a couple of months. That act of intentionally creating this little pot of money, that's what makes it feel totally different. And that's why this part matters so much. When you earmark this money, you're basically telling your brain, hey, this is different. This isn't fun money for a coffee or an impulse buy. No, this money has a specific job. This is your working capital, and it's ready to be put to work. All right, mission accomplished. You've got your $100. You're ready to make that shift from consumer to owner. But now you hit the question that stops almost everyone dead in their tracks. What on earth do you actually buy with it? I mean, this is a huge mental roadblock for so many people. You go online, you look at one of the big, famous company stocks, and you see that a single share costs hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars. It's easy to feel like, well, the game's over before I even started. But here's the good news. Technology has completely changed the game here. The first game changer is something called fractional shares. It's exactly what it sounds like. It means you can buy a tiny piece, a fraction of any company's stack with whatever amount of money you have. So if one share cost $1,000, you can take your $100 and buy 10% of that one share. All of a sudden, no stock is too expensive anymore. But okay, that just creates another problem, right? Which stock do you actually pick? Well, that's where this other brilliant invention comes in, the index fund. The easiest way to think about it is like a pre-made shopping basket at the grocery store. Instead of trying to guess which one fruit is going to be the best, you just buy the basket that already has a little bit of every single fruit in it. It's really that simple. And this simple approach, believe it or not, perfectly mirrors a billionaire's strategy of diversification. Now, you'll often see it called an index fund ETF. That ETF part just means it's an exchange-traded fund, which is just a fancy way of saying it's a modern version of that shopping basket that you can buy or sell just as easily as a single stock. With one single click, one purchase, you get instant diversification. You own a tiny piece of hundreds of companies. You're not betting on one company to succeed. You're betting on the entire market to grow over the long term. And the best part? The costs are insanely low, so more of your money stays working for you.
All right, let's get to the part that I think seems the most intimidating to people, actually hitting that buy button. But I promise you, this process has gotten so simple. It's ridiculously easy now.
Here's the exact process, step by step. First, you pick a modern brokerage, one with zero fees that offers fractional shares. The online application takes maybe 15 minutes. Then you transfer your $100 into the account. And finally, you just search for the index fund you want, you type in the dollar amount, $100, and you place what's called a market order. All that means is buy it for me right now at the best price available. And that's it. The confirmation screen flashed on my phone, and just like that, it was done. In seconds. And let me tell you, the feeling was powerful. I wasn't just a consumer anymore. I was officially a part owner of 500 of the biggest companies in America. Honestly, that shift in identity alone was worth the $100. But listen, that first $100 investment, that's not the finish line. Not even close. That's the starting gun. The real wealth building engine, what I like to call the billionaire multiplier, is what happens next. The strategy is called dollar cost averaging, and it is so beautifully simple. All it means is you invest the same amount of money on a regular schedule, say every month. This completely removes emotion and guesswork from the picture. When the market is down, your fixed amount automatically buys more shares. When the market is up, it just buys a few less. You don't have to think about it. And look, the amount doesn't have to be huge at all. After I made that first $100 investment, I set up an automatic transfer for just $25 a month. That's it. A few coffees, I put the whole system on autopilot, and now it just sits there in the background, constantly growing my ownership stake without me having to lift a finger. And this is what unlocks the most powerful force in finance, something Warren Buffett himself credits for his incredible wealth: compound interest. It's when your money starts making money, and then that money starts making its own money. It's just like a tiny snowball at the top of a really long hill. As it starts rolling, it picks up more snow, getting bigger and faster all by itself. And that automation, that's what keeps the snowball rolling, day in and day out. So let's just do a quick recap of this whole four-step journey. First, we intentionally set aside our seed capital. We gave our money a specific job. Second, we bought the entire market with a simple index fund. Third, we walked through how easy it is to actually place that first trade. And finally, and this is the most important part, we put the whole thing on autopilot to let it grow over time. You know, what this whole experiment really proved to me is that the biggest thing holding most people back isn't the money. It's the belief that you can't start. It's that little voice in your head that says you're not smart enough or rich enough or that the whole system is just too complicated. But you don't need a finance degree for this. You just need a simple plan and the will to actually begin. So I want to leave you with this question to really think about. What is the single biggest thing that's been holding you back from starting this journey? Is it fear? Is it just confusion about where to start? Being honest with yourself about that answer, well, that's the real first step.